Alright everyone, welcome back to more Witch on the Holy Night. We are currently up to a point where we have a confrontation between Alice and Touko. Hopefully, Alco gets there in time to join in, but who knows? I don't know what's to come of these characters, but I'm looking forward to seeing how this chapter resolves itself. So, if anything else, hope you all continue to enjoy. Thank you again for all the love and support. Let's get to it. Alright everyone, welcome back.
ああ、一日かけて公園中に刻ませてもらった。この公園の道はレンガだからね。手間こそかかったが簡単な仕事だった。周りの森まで見て、ざっと400平米のキャンバスだ。面白いだろ？今私たちは30万字以上のルーンの上にいる。
Swallowing hard, Alice took a step back. Toco had carved runes all over the ground. Even in the area Ditto reacted to alone, there was a depressing amount of them. Had she truly carved them into the whole park? Alice did not react with surprise. She simply narrowed her eyes. She could see how it would have taken the whole day. It was no wonder Diddle, Banquet of the Night, was destroyed by the skin of sun. Still, something bothered Alice.
一体どうやって隠していたの？
There were just so many. What kind of magecraft could do that?
ああ、ちょっと特別性。このルーンね、普段は確定していないんだ。こうしている今も変形している。パッと見はただの傷跡。それが強い魔力に触れると元の形に立ち戻る。形状記憶ルーンとでも言おうかな。そんなわけで、いかなる夜の深さをもってしても、この太陽は没しない。この通り、雪が降ってくれたおかげで、視覚的なごまかしも万全だったしね。
She spoke modestly, but Alice could not imagine the amount of persistence, technique, and skill it must have taken. And it only took a day. Even 10 mages would have trouble producing so many sophisticated runes in that time. Moreover, these runes were made using unknown techniques the Association had not approved.
負け惜しみだけど、私みたいな小娘一人に大人げないわね、トウコさん。
バカを言うな。君を小娘だなんて一度も思ったことはないよ。まあ、私好みの体だと眠めつけることはあったがね。
Whoa! It happened in the blink of an eye. Alice cut off Toko's sniper mark with a deadly stare. The left eye of the darkly clad girl changed in color to an ominous ruby. The speed of the incantation was phenomenal. Alice's mystic eyes of enthralling snared Touko. Oh, she has mystic eyes too. She had been the one to quite literally be taken captive by the girl's stare. Touko tried to raise her arm, but could not even move a finger. Alice's mystic eyes commanded absolute control with no room for resistance. Only a person's internal organs were allowed the freedom to move. Since their organs still functioned, it was more precise to say that her eyes forbid the target from acting. Alice had played her hand with exquisite timing. It wasn't the speed of her eyes that had given her an edge. The deftness with which she wove her spells to exploit the briefest vulnerability is what made Alice a different caliber to other mages like Aoko. This witch who lived hidden in the modern era was more seasoned in magical abilities than Touko Aozaki.
だが残念。ディドルが響かないのでは、魔眼のアクロスティック化はできないようだな。欲しいね。あの月目のプロエキシャーなら、これで私の方はお手上げだったろうが。
The formation holding Touko began to distort. In the blink of an eye, the mage had bested Alice's mystic eyes. Alice's black outfit fluttered in the wind. She turned so she was not facing Touko head on. The mage had recovered through her own mystic eyes. At the root of Touko's mystic eyes was the spell of Mesmerize. Most effective when facing their prey, such eyes could mind-jack a target's awareness. It was difficult to resist head-on. However, its effect was greatly diminished if the target was not facing the eyes directly, even if it was within range. Moreover, the girl was the last witch of her lineage who commanded a great number of fairy tales. Against mystic eyes that projected their efforts, simply turning one's body was enough to repel half of the magical energy. Like Alice's eyes, Touko's could also disable actions. Alice had escaped by the skin of her teeth. The damage she suffered was the weight of a twig to a forest. She just had to let the energy pass through. In an instant, a startling chill ran through Alice's body. This was a problem. The touch of death ran up her spine. She glared at the mage before her as blue rubber balls flowed out from beneath her overcoat. The stare-off grew more intense. Alice glared harder, resisting Touko's mystic eyes with her own. Losing was not an option. In terms of raw magical energy, Alice Kuonji's mystic eyes were more powerful and advanced than Touko's. Surely nobody could beat her. And yet, her unfiltered stock of magical energy stifled by old-fashioned values was no match for Touko's madness. Deeper within her eyes, somehow, the eyes revealed a sealed power. Like a camera shutter, too. Inside the crystalline lens of the mage's left iris was a bottomless pit, a Klein cube. Alice winced in pain. The bindings grew in number. So many mystic eyes, thousands perhaps, and all fixed on Alice. Pressure. So much pressure. Endless. And Alice knew it. She saw. Incredulously, she saw eyes growing within eyes. Touko had placed opposing mirrors inside her eyes, resulting in an infinite glare. It was the act of a mad woman, creating mystic eyes within mystic eyes. She could even control the resulting chaos caused by all the copies. Insanity knew no bounds. No mage in their right mind would mass-produce so many mystics, the last escape of humankind so indiscriminately.
やれやれ、これもお気に召さないか。私なりにマインスターの真似事をしてみたつもりなんだが、うまくできているだろう？君の悪路のように希少な神秘で現実をねじ曲げるのではなく、量産した神秘で現実をねじ伏せる。物自体はただの魔眼。だがその段数には果てがない。相手がどれほどの魔力抵抗を持っていようと、それ以上の魔力で拘束するだけのものだ。
She wielded power without limit to disable an opponent. Once one was caught in them, one was chained to the concept of infinity. Projection-type eyes had a fatal flaw. Their firepower and formula were insignificant compared to the great artillery of incanted spells. But Touko had torn down that conventional wisdom with brute strength. If the gun was a pea shooter, she simply needed to bring more guns. A 9mm bullet could never destroy a fortress, unless one threw a fortress mass of bullets at it. The principle was brutishly simple, but in the world of magecraft, where concepts decided supremacy, Touko had created the perfect weapon. The target would be bound until she closed her eyes. In theory, at least, the effects were infinite. No amount of magical energy could ever overcome it, so it was utterly futile to resist using magical energy. Of course, one way to counter it would be to stay out of Touko's line of sight to begin with. The standard tactic against mystic eyes was to defeat the user before they were aware of you. There was, however, another way. It was simpler than one might think.
ともあれ、これで詰みだ。 何か言い残すことは？
Alice could no longer see her enemy. Toko's infinite eyes had bound her. All she could make out was a sliver of moonlight, and a blue streak tracing its way towards her.
結構悔いのない人生で羨ましい。
She drew a rune in the air, unleashing a shockwave to tear flesh asunder. The gust became blades of air that shredded Alice's overcoat and minced. Blue feathers flitted all around. Toco felt something behind her and turned. 5 cat-shaped bells were thrown at her feet. And just as quickly as they shattered to pieces, standing before her was a completely unharmed Alice Kwonji.
そよ風みたいなルーンね。トウコさん、本当に鈍った？
うつせみか。術者の身代わりになるプロイの話は聞いてなかったな。
ええ。1年のうち365日は役立たずで、どうしてあんなのが古参なのか私も疑問だけど。
As if responding to Alice's words, a bird began chirping frantically. An anonymous sacrifice. Who killed Cock Robin echoed into the night, sung out of tune. So the Robin was the familiar that she used to act as her second image or double.
ああ、そんな歌もあったな。だがあれは一度に1回しか殺されない。2度目はないし、あったとしても。
The bird squawked, a very unbird-like death throw. From behind Alice, the blue robin fell from its tree, a victim of Toko's mystic eyes.
本当に使えない。
さて、ではやり直しだ。あとも使えている。これで終わりにしよう、アリス。どのみち、この公園では手がないだろ。
そうでもないわ。確かに、今の私にあなたの魔眼は破れない。けれど、Beauty up with wood and clay, wood and clay, wood and clay, Beauty up with wood and clay, my fair lady.
The song came from the depths of the earth, stirring a mighty quake to mark the birth of something gargantuan. Toco needed to throw Alice into an infinite hell before whatever that was could be completed, but she was far too late.
Wood and clay will wash away, falling down, falling down. Beauty up with bricks and mortar, my fair lady.
The ground burst to life. A finger, then another, and another, all rising up like towers. Earth, snow, and brick knitted together, manifesting a giant stone golem.
そんなバカな話があるか。なぜこいつが出てきやがる。
Toco was so angry and confused she could barely gather her thoughts. Was that the one she used earlier to, eat all the other mannequins? The bridge giant. The monster from the Mindster's fairy tales rose from the ground, ruining Toko's plan. The giant was extremely powerful, but could only be summoned under one condition. It must be in proximity to a natural river. That was the monster's one and only condition. But this park was nowhere near one. And on top of that, it was rising up directly between Toco and Alice mid-battle.
あら。あるでしょう。すぐそこに。川と呼ぶには小さな、すぐに消えてしまうものだけど。
Toco lowered her gaze. She was standing in a puddle of water. The scarred red mage was dumbfounded. That was why Alice had used Diddle Diddle before. While the bells could be replenished, they were valuable to Alice. And she had spent 5. throwing them in an intentional line for the sun runes to destroy. From there,
雪解けの流水か。
I'm getting flashbacks to Berserker. The arms of Thames' troll rose up from the stone paving. The monster's torso alone surpassed 80 feet. Its form was made entirely of stone. Previously, she had created one using the trees of a forest. However, Toco knew instantly the monster before her was at least twice as powerful.
止まれ。
She unleashed her stacked mystic eyes. They were meaningless at this stage. They had no effect on the giant. As said, mystic eyes can be countered in two ways. The first is to hide oneself from view of the mage. That was the standard response. The other way, however, was a devilishly simple yet 100% effective. In fact, it's less of a way, more of a fact. Mystic eyes curse a target by focusing on them. However, what if the target was too large to focus on entirely? The answer was, one could barely stop a single arm. The giant, unfazed, raised its right arm and swung it down onto the ground, destroying thousands of runes. The demolished stones were then absorbed into its arm, adding to its mass. As the mage had said before, no matter how deep the night, these little suns won't set. While the suns might not set, they could be crushed under the bulk of a giant's hand. The victor of the battle was decided. Touko Aozaki closed their eyes, prepared to escape. The stray dogs began to whine, fearful of the hulking figure before them.
参ったな。私ではマインスターには勝てなかったか。まあ、そのあたりは今後の課題としよう。
呆れた。逃げられると思っているの？トウコさん。
まさか、そこまで鈍ってはいないよ、アリス。第一、逃げるとしたら、それは私の方じゃないからね。
There was no hint of bravado in Toko's tone. Even in the face of a titan she had no means of harming, her confidence was unshakable. The reason being,
ま、前座は終わりだ。来い、ベオ。
this was no longer a battle of skill. A fight for survival had begun. Snap went Toko's fingers. In response, a beautiful high-pitched melody floated up toward the moon. It echoed all around them. The spiral howl dredged up ancient primal memories. Its source emerged from the shadows and landed next to the mage. Beowulf? Alice's lip trembled faintly, not from fear, but with admiration, once she recognized the creature before her. It was a majestic golden beast, beyond the domain of both magical and phantasmal, simply divine. It was a life that should have passed from the world with the age of gods, a mystic derived from human wisdom preserved by thousands of generations of hidden tradition. A recreation of a miracle that once freely walked the earth, the natural enemy of magecraft able to crush it with ease. Quiet resignation settled over Alice's face. The golden beast charged. This time, she didn't even have a chance to admit defeat. She could hear the beast's breathing in her ear. It defeated her golem? That huge thing? Really? It seemed she had been unconscious for a short time. Holy cow, she is messed up. Alice opened her eyes and took a deep breath. That is not a deep breath, that's a gasp. And a gasp of agony and pain. Each cough sent pain shooting through her body. Blood rose from the pit of her stomach, and she spat it onto the cold ground. When her vision returned, she was able to make out the distant sky, falling snow, and the golden wolf. The wolf panted. It stared at Alice, saliva dripping from its mouth onto her cheek. Razor-sharp fangs lined its jaws. Its fur was glossier than that of any animal she had ever seen. Brutal, knife-like claws protruded from its massive blood-stained paws. And yet, it did not smell like a beast. Surely, the presence of such a noble creature, a human, would feel like the lesser animal. The battle between Alice and the wolf was over before it had begun. After destroying the troll, it baptized Alice with its wicked claws, giving her no chance to escape. Its sideswipe had torn into her abdomen like a sword, carving through her clothes and flesh all the way to her heart. Even so, not once did Alice make a sound. The wolf had her pinned, and it stared at her face. Her limbs felt ready to break at any moment. That was the situation she found herself in. Now fully conscious, Alice stared at her enemy through pained eyes. She felt no fear, only cold reality sinking in. Sensing Alice's demeanor, the wolf suddenly paused, its jaw still raised. They looked into each other's eyes.
そんなに血が出てるのに痛くないんだ。
The wolf's voice came as a surprise, but there was no doubt it had spoken.
それとも痛いのは平気なのかな。
The wolf's voice sounded innocent, almost childlike. In complete contrast to what had happened up to that point, the wolf smiled.
どっちにしろ我慢強いんだね、お姉ちゃんは。
The wolf opened its mouth wide and clamped its jaws around Alice's neck.
Beo!
Toko's tone was sharper than the wolf's fangs. The wolf froze.
トウコさん。
He let go and slowly turned his head towards the voice.
とどめは刺すなと言ったろ。余計な仕事を増やす気か、バカもん。
それはそれで楽しいのに。ああ、退屈。話に聞いた橋の巨人も結局は他の生き物と一緒だったし。
The wolf backed away from Alice, as if no longer interested in his prey. To the golden beast, she was little more than an old chew toy.
なんだ、もう意識が戻ったのか。心もタフなら体も大概だな。骨まで砕いてその程度の出血とは。マインスターの教育の賜物かい？
Barely clinging to life, Alice stared at Toco. But not a stare of hatred and defeat, but one of disbelief. Alice simply wondered why Toco had brought such a beast.
ああ、紹介が遅れたな。彼はおそらく地上で現存している最後の人狼だ。北欧の奥地に生きる彼らの一族の中に現れた生粋の原種だよ。見ての通り、先祖返りなんて言葉じゃ表せない黄金の神秘でね。名前がなかったんで分かりやすくベオウルフと呼んでいる。
ベオウルフ。
Alice's face was perplexed, even though she hadn't wavered when she was disemboweled. Beowulf, the name of the heroic giant slayer from Danish legend. It came from Old English, a combination of honeybee and a wild beast. A bear, in other words.
なんでそんなちぐはぐな名前を。
ん？いや、可愛いからに決まってるだろ。
Perhaps because of the name or because of the golden beast itself. Fighting the pain, Alice struggled to read Toco in this respect. She was worse than Aoko.
ついでに説明しておくと、周りの犬どもはベオが勝手に呼び寄せたものだ。私自身、マインスターの娘がただの畜生に傷つけられるとは思ってはいないよ。今のところはね。
Toko's mouth twisted into a grin. Not the warm one Sojiro saw, but the merciless smile a victor displays to a loser. The disdain in Alice's eyes turned to anger. The Golden Mystic. How could Toco have brought such a creature into the human world?
何？需要と供給だよ。過疎化は人間だけの問題じゃない。彼らもいい加減、昔ながらの生活には限界が来たらしくてね。話し合いの末、高額で私が買い取った。と言っても、あくまで里から出すだけの権利だがね。お察しの通り、私の髪はベオとの契約に使い切った。自分の髪を使って分身を作るより、強大な怪物を縛り付けた方がよっぽど健全。ん
While she was talking, Toco noticed something strange, an unusual sound. A preternatural sound that tore at the mind. A sound that shouldn't have existed. And it was coming from the girl's open abdomen.
もう復元が始まったか。いや、というより、これを。
何この匂い。トウコさん、なんかワクワクすること起きてない？
Curious, Beowulf moved closer, like a puppy examining a new toy.
見るな、あっちに行っていろ、ベオ。正気を失っても知らんぞ。
Toco shooed the mud away with her hand. Beowulf lowered his head meekly and withdrew.
教育方針を間違ったかな。まったく、乙女の腹を見ようなんて恥を知れ、恥を。
トウコさんだって見てるじゃない。
バカ、私は乙女だからいいんだ。
If Aoko had been here, she would have blasted them away for their impudence, just as she did against Flatsnark.
まあ、しかしむごいな。こんなになるまで放っておくとは。マインスターは人の親とは言えまいよ。
With her gloved hand, Toco ran her fingers along the wound of Alice's abdomen. A flash of pain ran through Alice's body. Alice had held in her screams, but she finally let out a long breath. She turned her face away, in pain or shame.
ほら、もう肌も復元している。骨格、血管はおろか、内臓にまで施されたおびただしいまでの刻印だ。生後、肉体に魔術回路を付加することは諸刃の剣だ。呪文と自分を一体化させることにより、栄唱の手間を省き、術者に多大な利点をもたらす魔術刻印。しかし、それは多ければ多いほど苦痛を伴う。青崎の刻印は腕一本分。まあ、君に比べれば少ない方だな。
The magic crest Toco referred to were the inheritance of the Aozaki family passed down by their ancestors. Alright guys, I'm gonna end the video here for today. Thank you all for watching. Holy cow, this has been one heck of an epic fight, and now we finally meet up with Beowulf. An interesting creature nonetheless, but we'll continue on in the next one. So thank you all for watching.